Okay, that should fix our YouTube stream. Um, Parable of the Prodigal is stream. It was far away. So yeah, so let's just break down some of the things that are happening in the parable. What's the initial setting? What's initially happening?
I'll say it if nobody else. Oh,
Had it? Oh, I don't need that. You can hear me without the microphone.
That's for our online folks.
Oh, I'm not online.
Yeah.
Well, it's, to begin with, it's the son returning from being gone.
Yeah.
And his father's embracing him.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're back.
Yeah. So where does
before that.
Yeah, where does
Even before that, though, he was.
I'm just starting, yeah.
Yeah.
He started out as a happy family.
Yeah.
and Then the son got a wild hair to take off, so.
Yeah. The funny thing was I think there we are. Yeah. Yes, the soundboard has been particularly. I think AI has taken over the brain of our soundboard. Hey. So I heard someone last week or the week before on the radio, and they're discussing basically this concept, and I don't think, it was as if they were completely, I guess they were unaware of the parable of the prodigal sons. So they're saying, well, why miss out on enjoying what you're going to inherit? Why not inherit it sooner? Because if you have to wait till your parents die, then you can't enjoy it as much. You'd enjoy it more if you could just have it, at 20 or 22 or whatever you got. Say you get out of college and you get whatever you would be inheriting, and you just take off with it, right? Wouldn't that be nice? And that's basically what the one son says, right? The younger brother. He says, life's short. I want to enjoy it, right? Does that sound fair? What are you saying? Okay, so imagine you went to your parents, if they're still alive, then imagine that. If they've passed, imagine years ago when you could have gone to them, you go to them and you say, I want my inheritance now. How would that have gone over? Gimme. Leo, do you have something on that? No?
Leo's saying that over there.
Yeah, he said that
He
sounds
wants
pretty
his
good.
inheritance now.
Yeah. So, sounds like a good deal, right? Yeah. So, it would seem awkward in our society, right? But in this society, we need to understand it had even more. It was more than just being greedy. Like, isn't that kind of presumptuous that you assume you're going to get this? We'd say that, but really what the younger son says is, Dad, I wish you were dead, hand me the money. That's basically how it would have been understood. So what does the father do? Gives him the money. Any comments, questions so far? Yeah, he goes and wastes it. So he gets the money, and it's not. We can't say, well, maybe he had a really good entrepreneurial idea, right? He was going to take the world by storm, and he realized he was going to miss his time. He didn't want anything to happen to dear old Dad. But Dad, there's this revolutionary new technology I've come up with, and I have to have money right now so I can take the world by storm with it, right? No, that's not what he's thinking. What does he decide would be a good use of his inheritance?
Pokemon cards.
Yeah, basically, he gets Pokemon cards. And when you spent all your money on Pokemon cards, what happens when you get hungry? No? Did you say cardboard? Cardboard. Yeah,
Yum.
cardboard. Yeah. It's a little chewy. Good fiber, right? We don't get enough fiber in our diet, so I guess it does that. But it doesn't really work, does it? Now, yeah, I know you say, well, but I'd pick the good ones, right? I'd pick the ones that actually become collector's items. Okay, fair enough. But I think we don't want to go too far with this, but the basic point is the younger son isn't thinking, how can I use this inheritance somehow in a wise and godly way? He's thinking, I'm young and I want to go have fun. And I'd like this money so I can go and have fun while I'm young, basically. Comments, questions? David?
This reminds me of Mark Twain when he said, something to the effect of when he was in his early 20s, he thought how stupid his dad was. And he said he talked to him 10 years later, and it's amazing how much the old man learned in 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Twain. We don't always have the right perspective at certain times, right? And I think, I do think that this particular young man certainly could make that same assessment, right? Boy, Dad learned a whole lot over the last few years. I've been having fun. Because what happens? Okay, so we'll just say he's Jewish-ish, right? We don't get his background, but let's just presume. Because that's important, because he's run out of money, he's spent all of his money on his Pokemon cards, and he needs to eat. And so what does he do to eat? Because he's fallen on hard times. He eats with the pigs, yes, yeah. So how much do Jews like pigs?
Eat 'em.
Not much, right? Yeah.
Not much.
Yeah, they're not into big pulled pork church dinners. Now, if you don't think that you should eat pork, God told them not to eat pork, if you shouldn't eat it, how good is it to actually have to eat with the things you shouldn't eat? Really horrible, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't care which livestock it is. If you say, go over there, there's the grain trough and go eat with the cows or something, I'm not going to feel too happy about that either. But pigs, here you are, they're in the slop, he's been slopping the pigs, and then he eats the stuff that's thrown out, the waste that they're giving to the pigs, right? I mean, this is the lowest of the low. Thoughts, comments?
It always makes me wonder when they mention pigs in these things. I mean, I guess the Romans that were living there ate them, but why do they have so many pigs if they're not allowed to eat them?
Yeah, it is an interesting question, isn't it? And I think you're right. Part of it's Gentiles that want to eat pigs. I mean, they know they're pulled pork. They don't want to give up pulled pork. But the other thing I think is that you probably have people who simply aren't faithful, that don't follow the dietary laws and so on. But I think in this case, we can assume here's a man who never ate pork. He lived in a faithful household. They didn't eat pork. He's always had the best. There was enough best that he could ask for this inheritance and think it was actually going to do something for him, right? It wasn't like, we've been so poor. Dad, would you give me your torn old coat that is what I'd inherit if something happened to you so I can go out into the world? No, it's not that. It's give me a bunch of money because I want to go have fun. So this is a definite downturn. And whether you're eating in the land, like these Gentiles that rule over you, now you have to work at their farm and eat what the waste products they throw, like the rotten food and stuff they're throwing out to the pigs, or you're with the unfaithful who have pigs. It's not good situation. Okay, any thoughts on that? Any comments, questions? Okay, so that's our basic setting for that. Melanie, it looks like you might have something.
I was just kind of wondering, what was his plan for after it was gone? Because it was going to run out. I mean, he's a young man, presumably, just not thinking about it, or?
Eat, drink, and be merry. For tomorrow we shall die, right? Yeah. I don't know. What does everyone think that he thinks is going to happen? We have a vote for he's not thinking. You want to say any more on that? No? 2 votes for not thinking. Can I have a third? Any others? What's anyone? Okay, show of hands. How many of you think that he's not thinking? Anyone think he's thinking he's thinking a lot? No. Anyone think he's somewhere in between? No, he's dumb as an ox.
He's thinking he can fall back on his dad if everything failed.
Yeah. Maybe he is just assuming that. To the extent, I think he's so arrogant, he probably feels like he's on track, but he probably does, in the back of his head, well, Dad's always bailed me out, so if I get in trouble, it'll work out. Somewhere along the line, though, his dad gets a lot wiser, right? The young man gets a lot wiser, and he realizes, wait a second here. When I got this money, I told my dad I wished he was dead. I just want his stuff. And so basically, he's intentionally cut himself off from the family. And there's a whole lot of levels of this that we might even just whiz past. Remember, this is a time period where most people didn't go and travel a whole lot, and often sons not financially, but they inherit the dad's business, right? They do whatever their dad did, the sons. So all this is like a renunciation of all the cultural norms, and it very clearly says, I don't want anything to do with my family. It's not about him asking for some money so he can go see the sights on the weekend when he's at college. It's not something like that. This is, I don't want anything to do with my family. I just want to go live my best life. And he'd be the type to say living your best life. No offense if you say that, but that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to live his best life.
YOLO.
Yeah, YOLO. Yeah. He's definitely all those things. He has them all. He has the shirts until he doesn't, because he even has to give away his shirts. So, problem with Dad will bail me out is I've told Dad I wished he was dead, and I took my half that. He could have helped me, but I've actually taken my half. There is no more my half. So what does the young man decide to do? Greg, where do we go next here?
Tim.
Humbles himself, yeah.
I always look at this story. I look at it from the parable side, but then we flip it over to the spiritual side,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like when I hear this story, it's like this is talking about a person who is a child of God,
Yeah.
and they say, listen, I got all the gifts, listen, give me my gifts. I'm gonna go out into the world. I'm fine. I don't need you, Dad. I don't need you, God. I got the gifts, you gave me this stuff, I'm out. But when they get out there, they waste their gifts. Because without God, those gifts are nothing.
Yeah.
So you get out there, and now you can't depend on the fruit of the Spirit or the gifts of the Spirit anymore. So now you're in the world, and you're doing things that are against you. You're feeding swine when you're not supposed to be with swine,
Mm-hmm.
or you're doing things that are against the word that you shouldn't be doing. But our Father, who is faithful, when we come to our senses and say, because the Bible says, we spoke about that before. If you confess your sins, God is faithful and just to forgive you of your sins. So when we come back and say, hey, Father, listen, I was wrong. I am coming back. And I don't even want to be in the position that you had me in. I just want to be one of your highest servants. But God doesn't see us like that. When we come back, you are a child of God. You are a child of God. So now you may not, because you spent you spent your inheritance or you used your gifts, you may not get the same reward, but you're still a child of God. You get that coat, you get that ring, I'm going to kill the fatted calf. And I think this story, which is so awesome, this parable, which is so awesome, is like, God, because this is talking about somebody, when you say son of God, this is talking about somebody that's a child of God already. So God is not going to, you become a Christian and then you sin and you come back and God is not going to like say, okay, you got to start over again. No, you're still my son,
Yeah.
But we have to come back once
Mhm.
we realize that, we made a mistake. We were wrong. We backslide or whatever. But God is always going to be there for us, like the father of this son. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So, this is really crucial, right? Because sometimes this can be a real blockade in our relationship with the Lord, where we really do buy into. Satan loves to build this up in our heads that we do have to start over. We do. Maybe we can kind of get back in God's good grace, but we can't get back to where we were when we first came to believe in Jesus, because it's not new anymore and we messed it up, right? So either, I have to start over, that's awful, or maybe I can't really start over, I can just get to some intermediate state. And Melanie.
This is kind of a rabbit trail, so just.
No, let's hop on into it.
Well, I mean, this might be taking the metaphor a little too far, but here's a question that I'm just thinking about. What would have happened, if the son hadn't come back? Because kind of taking this for the whole once saved, always saved thing, because, he had been his son. Because we can't really say that because he didn't come back, he was never his son, because he still was, genetically.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know, that's kind of off tangent.
It's a great question. I think it might be hard where we almost have to stretch the parable too far to try to deal with that. Like, maybe it's also where we need to keep in mind the different parables. Like, different parables don't cover the whole reality, so Jesus tells multiple ones. David, did you have a thought on that? It looked like?
Yeah, so we like this guy.
Yeah.
Even though we deride him,
Yeah.
And because he's like us.
Yeah.
And so I think what people are seeing is that when the son comes back, he's like all the sinners who see Jesus and recognize him, that they've messed up in him instantly. Where the son who has been there, he's kind of got that Pharisee thing going on.
Yes.
Where he uses that word always,
Yeah.
I've always done what I'm supposed to do.
Yep.
And so, anyway.
Yeah, we're going to get to, we have some interesting things to explore with the elder brother. But you're right, we do, the younger son, despite his foibles, is the more likable of the two for sure, right? There's no, at least he humbles himself and so on. To me, I think here, what we have, I think the parable of the lost coin, which is right before this one, maybe we'll look at that another week. But it's about looking for the lost. And then we get into the parable of the prodigal son. So I think, let's back up a little further. And I think this can help answer the question. We're in Luke 15, and Luke 15, does anyone remember what's happening? Does anyone know the occasion why Jesus is telling this parable? Okay, so if you look at the very beginning, it says Luke 15:1. Now the tax collectors and sinners were all drawing near to him, and the Pharisees and the scribes grumbled, saying, "This man receives sinners and eats with them." And so Jesus says, well, let me tell you some stories. So that's the context we're in here for all these parables. And so I think part of it, in a sense, and it kind of gets into this, because the Pharisees, as they're watching, have no doubt that Jesus, to the extent, whoever he is, certainly wants to seek after the people that don't maybe even realize they need to be sought after yet, because he's doing it, right? He's there seeking out the sinners. their question is, why in the world would you seek out sinners? And so he tells these different parables. And so you have the parable of the lost sheep. We should do that one and do reckless love that week. But, Jesus goes and finds the one lost sheep and leaves the 99 to find him. Then we have the parable of the lost coin. The woman goes and looks diligently for a coin. And then we get to the parable of the prodigal son. So I think maybe part of it on that, the prodigal son is trying to flesh out, okay, so to the extent, and the Pharisees don't fully buy into that, obviously, that Jesus is speaking as God. They don't fully buy that he's speaking even what's true about God. But if you just, even as a hypothetical, say, okay, Jesus, tell us how you think God is. Well, he's already said God seeks out the lost. God seeks out those who are far away, who've, like the one sheep that's lost, he was part of the flock, but he wandered off. So you could even say, like, God goes and finds those who have wandered. But now he wants to flesh out a little bit more, well, how does this all kind of bring together? So I think maybe that's a little bit of that. Like, okay, I'm going to get a different accent here. And then the other thing I think is it's just not really what's in view. And we're going to see that he's going to bring down the hammer of the law here, as Luther would say, later. And I think we're going to actually have to do 2 parts on the parable of the prodigal son, which because I don't want to do this
It
disservice.
needs 2 parts.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. But we're dealing with at least the first son right now. He's going to bring down the hammer in a bit. But I think if you look at what details he does provide, it's all about setting up so he can do that. Part 2, the funny thing is we spend so much time on the part we've been talking about, and I'm just going to give a teaser for where we'll go next week. I don't think it's the main point of the parable. It's an important point. It's true. But unfortunately, we often only read that part, and we don't get the rest.
It's the fuzzy, feel-good, non-convicting part.
Yeah, it's so easy, right? Look, this son, he was bad. He realized that he was bad. All works out, right? But it is worth fleshing out, because the question is, before we can really understand the second part, how does God deal with sinners? And it can be a sinner who's already a part of the family and wanders off. It can be a sinner who has never been part of the family, so to speak. But we know to the Father that sinner is precious, right? Any other thoughts on the younger brother? What does he do when he realizes he needs to go back? He humbles himself. And how does he go about humbling himself?
Can I be your servant?
Yeah.
You already mentioned that, though.
Yeah, well, but he doesn't. I think that's one of the reasons that it's so easy to identify with him, right? When we realize we've done something wrong, don't we often kind of compose in our head this whole speech? Here's how I'm going to say it, and here's how I'm going to say it, and hopefully it doesn't go too badly. And so I think that's part of what makes him so relatable. That before he even comes back to the Father, he has this aha moment, right? I'm living worse than my Father's servants do. What if I say, I'm the biggest jerk in the world, Dad. I know it. And you can call me Joe Blow and act like you don't even know me, but can I just have one of the jobs you're always giving to the servants? Because that's better than what I'm doing, what I'm facing now. And I think the beauty of that humility that we see there, it's sort of like, I think what Isaiah experiences when he's in the throne room. And he says, woe is me. This son realizes he doesn't even deserve that, but maybe if he humbles himself, maybe he can have something that's far less than what he had before. Does he get it? He gets more, yes. And we are out of time, so I don't want to do short shrift to either the father or the elder brother. So just for next week, what we'll do, and if you want to mull this over for the week, we're going to look at the father and how he reacts to the son next week, which I think is really important to understanding it, because it gives a, obviously, if we look at this, who's the father in this supposed to represent? God. So it's really important that we get that part down, right? We really pay attention. We pay so much attention, again, to the younger brother, but how does God react? That's a really important thing. And then we get to actually, this is the teaser, if you haven't taken this part apart before, the whole reason Jesus tells the parable is the part about the elder brother, and that's what we'll talk about next week. Let me just remind you before we go that do we have a hand? I'm sorry. Greg, I'm sorry. Were you going to say something?
Oh, no, I was just scratching.
Oh. Yeah, see, this is just like an auction.
Well, now you have to say something.
Yeah. I just spent $1,000. Sold to the man in New Jersey. Congratulations, you just bought a new lamp. Anyway, so we'll pick up there next week. Let me just remind you, though, before we go, that we do have a brand new Steadfast series starting tomorrow night in 1 Timothy chapter 1. Our charge is love. And we'll be going piece by piece through chapter 1 of 1 Timothy over the next few weeks at 7 p.m. Central Time. So I hope you'll join me for that. Join Greg. You'll see his face in the chat all the time. So hop into the chat if you haven't tried before, and join in the discussion, and you'll know who's there. Anyway, it's a great way just to get to know our church a little bit more. But really, I wanted to go into 1 Timothy as we're going into the new year because it talks so much about what's our responsibility, all of us, as those who have received God's grace and now have a job to do. And if you think about it, that's a great thing to do in this year. What's our job even this year from our God? Where is he sending us? So hope you'll join me tomorrow night for that. Why don't I go ahead and close this in prayer. Father, thank you for this evening, and thank you for your word. Thank you for the grace that you show to younger and older brothers alike. Lord, would you help us to understand your grace better and the ways that you work through that? And as we do, would you apply that to our hearts, that we remember that we are those who are loved and we are those who are redeemed by your grace. We pray this in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Oh, before we go, Greg.
Don't forget Tuesday night.
Yeah, I thought I didn't give Greg a chance to pitch. Yeah, Greg, what is Tuesday night?
Tuesday night Bible study. Please come by and join us. We have an awesome time, and the more the merrier. So hope to see you there.
Absolutely. Yeah, please do join us on Tuesday night for that 7:15, and it's 8:15 if you're on the East Coast like Greg. So please do join us. It's through Microsoft Teams, so it's video conference. If you haven't tried it, it's not it's not just a one-way live stream. It's all of us talking together on video. So please do join us for that. In the meantime, have a wonderful and blessed week, and I'll see you next week. Thank you, Greg. Have a great night. Have a great week.
Everybody. See you
Thank
next
you.
week.